Welcome to Isabis Global Conscious Wellness, Leaders Around the World. We are your hosts.
I'm Dr. Isabel.
And I'm Dr. June.
And then to achieve the best version of yourself, we need to uncover our self stories. We have the power within ourselves to do and be what we want to be. And then Cordelia Gaffar is here with us. Is there a ritual that you recommend for people, or steps or some guidance? Especially, we're really concerned about the youth and the young adults that are the future of the world. And we're not giving them, or general doctors are not giving them tips or tools to become their best version, to have strong emotional intelligence. So are there any tools that you recommend?
This is going to sound very contrite, but first of all, put down the devices, go outside, take off your shoes.
Absolutely, you're so right.
I'm not even kidding right now. I mean, I've got kids, and my teenager, like, it's not a problem with my little kids, but my teenagers, they'll be like, "Oh, Mom, I don't feel good, da, da, da." They might have been sleeping a little bit extra that day, and I'll be like, "Okay, let's go outside." And I'll take them, we'll go someplace to a hill, we just roll down the hill. I'm not even kidding. Just over and over and over again. Or like on Saturdays, we'll go for a hike. And they're always like, "Oh, Mom, I forgot about this. When we were little, we used to do this all the time." And I know, like, for all you people that are not nature lovers, get with the program, because that is really a serious energetic healing. There's so much, like, there's even something that I do called tree breathing. And we literally, like, lean up against a tree and make sure our lungs are, have a good fit there. And just breathe with the tree and sync our rhythm with the flow of the leaves, So that's really what I would recommend.
Thank you for the suggestion. Yes, that's the recommendation. It's perfect. Mm-hmm.
So then you were mentioning about nutrition and how you were able to heal with nutrition. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in my case, I had 2 miscarriages in between my first 2 live births. And it was like I disassociated with my body. I was like, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with me." And I was holding on to shame, right? And then when I finally had my baby, I couldn't connect. And so what I found out, which could have even added to my pile, right, physiologically, is that for a Western diet, we don't really eat a whole lot of vitamin Bs or iron. And, we're always told, just take a multivitamin. But most multivitamins, even the prenatal ones, are very deficient in the B vitamins and the amount of iron, the amount of calcium and magnesium, especially B3, which is niacin. And niacin has a special correlation with the production of testosterone in the woman's body for when she has a male child, right? So that's great that we get sonograms and we find out, "Oh, good, it's a girl. Oh, good, it's a boy." But if it's a boy, pay attention to your diet and make sure that you're eating enough niacin. And so when I healed myself, I really took out all the things, listen very carefully. So I took all the things that would not take away from the absorption of the natural nutrition in food. So that means, I know we generically say don't eat refined sugar, don't eat rice, but it's a thing, right? So the more of the stuff that your body needs, if you're eating more of that, then there will be fewer barriers to absorbing the food, the nutrition out of the food. So what that looks like is bitter greens. I do still different combinations of bitter greens with sweet greens. And this was my way to and for my kids too, to recondition my palate to not desire sugar.
Correct.
The more bitters you eat, the less you want sugar, the less you want rice, right? And I'm going to tell you what, it was an uphill battle because I'm married to a man from Bangladesh, okay? So there's like you're not eating if you don't have rice, okay?
Yeah.
But even with my Caribbean background, I firmly believe you can eat without rice. So, and then, you know, above and beyond that, increasing the good fats, right? So, and the dietary fiber. So I found out about all these whole world of legumes, you know. So, you know, I know people talk about adzuki beans, but it's like something that is very accessible is like black chickpeas. Very high in protein, very high in iron. It has enough of the vitamin B's, niacin that you'll need. And what else? And then, you know, cilantro. So a lot of the herbs that people are like, oh, I hate cilantro. Cilantro is an awesome herb,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It actually separates your mucous membrane from receiving the bacteria. So like if there's E. coli or salmonella in chicken or, you know, anything you're eating, if you have cilantro, it's like, you know, it will cure you on the spot and you don't even know what's happening. So there's like a lot of traditional foods that people eat and they don't even know why, you know, you put cilantro, why you put garlic, why you put ginger. And then I learned different ways to cook meat, but I wasn't heavy on the meat either because I know I'm going on. So you picked a topic that I like. Because the other thing I found out, and Islamically, right? So Unani Tib is the system of food that I adapted back there 18 years ago, where you use food as medicine. And in Unani Tib, this is based on the different humors of the body. But above and beyond that, it matters physiologically where the food comes from, how the meat's harvested, how the animal lived in life. So it makes it very difficult, especially these days, to really eat meat, right? And then there's certain body types that can't eat meat or should not eat that much meat. I'm not one of those body types, but I can eat all things. But the problem is, you know, when you're looking at your mental health, you don't want to have factory produced even fish, right? You don't want to have farm fish. You don't want to have like definitely you don't want to have random chicken, because this is something that is a very common food around the world, but it can in excess, it can cause inflammation.
Yes.
So
you were talking about the body types. We really love Ayurveda and the different body types according to Ayurveda, but also it is important to know your blood type, because depending on your blood type, that's how you determine what will be best for you. What kind of measurements do you use to determine if it's good or not for you to eat meat, for example?
So it's very clear according to the different humors, they're aligned with the 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. And unlike Ayurveda has just the 3 types, mm-hmm. but with Unani Tib, we have 4 types, but you have a dominant and subdominant. So you have to look at the meeting point between the dominant and subdominant to know, you know, because you may be, let's say, choleric is your dominant, which means that your element is fire, your season is summer. But then you could be sanguine on your subdominant, which is spring and air. And they do have a meeting point where you want to stay away from dairy, too much beef, too much red meat, fermented foods. It almost sounds like you can't eat anything, right? No fats, no salt.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah,
Right.
They would be more like, well, I mean, yeah, they could do more carbohydrates, I guess. Mm-hmm. But what really works for that dominant, subdominant category would be, you know, closer to a vegan diet. They could eat rice. So unlike me. And here's the other part of that is the different body types are aligned to different ethnicities. Of course, that's not a hard and fast rule, but choleric and sanguine people tend to be from the subcontinent, right, where they eat lots of rice, and you know they tend to be vegan more so and eat less red meat. You know, people like places like Bangladesh, they have lots of fish because there's a big river right in the middle of their country. So yeah,
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Right. So those information that, you know, what you described, you know, where you are, you know, which region you're born or your ancestry, all the information stores into your DNAs and cells. So this is the way we carry on to the generation after generation, right? Oh,
Yeah.
so that's awesome to know which type you are, what, which your dominance and predominance, and I think knowing thyself is a key, isn't it? Yeah, to
It
get back
is.
your nature. Oh.
And that's the true key in Unani Tib, is being a student of yourself so that you yourself can detect the imbalance. And for me, if just to revisit my story, I had 4 more kids, right? Clearly, I wasn't having postpartum depression or any other complication, because if I was, I would have stopped, right? But so like my pregnancies got better and better as I became a student of my body, and I understood more clearly what it needs and when I'm going the wrong direction with food or air. So there's 6 lifestyle areas to look at, right? Maybe the exercise, I'm not doing the right kind, or I'm doing too much or too little. So all those things, yeah. Pay attention to your sleep. And I know, like, as we grow up, we move away from having a proper sleep routine because we're going to sleep when we're dead, right? Only babies need to have good sleep, but adults are really miserable individuals. And this is the main cause of imbalance, is, improper sleep, because sleep allows for that. It's a metabolic stabilizer is what I tell people, right? Because all the detoxification that we're running after happens naturally if you sleep right. And then after that, if you get a good night's sleep, then you have mindset, right? And, to what we were talking about earlier, you create your reality with your words. So the words we say, really create our belief system and can actually change our chemistry in our body, right? And then, according to, like, as long as we're in the right mindset, we're not going to stress eat or just binge eat, but we'll be mindful and be like, okay, today I'm not really feeling that great. And usually when this is happening, I do better if I eat, greens with chickpeas, right? Instead of going and having a big pizza that has like all the meat and whatever on it, right? Because that usually gives me a major imbalance. And then I have to wash it all down with a Coca-Cola, which also doesn't really help too much, right? Whereas if I have the greens and the chickpeas, it makes me thirsty because I put some Himalayan salt on that, and now I need to drink water. And then that natural progression, I was actually talking to someone this morning, and she was like, as long as I'm eating right, I actually have to exercise a certain way, So, that's a natural driver. It's like you cannot eat pizza and then, think that you can have stamina in the gym. It's not going to happen like that. Or even with yoga, right? Like when you do what is supposed where you're laying down and essentially sleeping, right? But people actually start snoring. That would be driven by eating the wrong food. And then the last bit of that, all of this culminates into our emotional state, right? Because now we slept right. We're using positive words that reinforce a positive mindset, which encourages us to pause for the cause and eat the right thing and take some time and exercise. And so we feel better, and it keeps our emotions balanced. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Right.
So any last tips that you want to give us, or last words?
Yeah, I really invite you to go to my website, which is cordeliagaffar.com. And there's a couple of places on there where you can take a quiz and find out your body type. And once you know that, you are really on your way to better understanding who you are and how you can, nourish your body and your mind the best way. And bonus, you get invited to talk to me for 30 minutes so we can discuss it more.
Great.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody is going to be able to join you and visit your website. Thank you so much. Well, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for sharing with all the community, your community, our community, and leaders community that watching this your interview. So that creates a lot of wisdom and tip to share so that we all together to grow and get a bit of consciousness.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.